If it wasn't for someone with an ADHD brain, who would have stared at a puffer fish and said, let's eat that, I bet we can make it work? Who else would have thought, let's jump out of a perfectly good airplane, and then decided it should be a weird hobby we do on weekends? Who would have turned fermented eggs into a delicacy, or coffee beans into the morning survival ritual of the entire planet? We don't have proof those ideas came from ADHD minds, but let's be honest. Only a brain wired for curiosity, novelty, and possibility would even think to try something that bold. Because the world doesn't change when everyone follows the rules. It changes when someone with a different kind of thinking asks, but what if? Welcome back, beautiful souls and seekers of healing, truth, and transformation. Today we're talking about ADHD in a way the world rarely does. Not as a disorder, not as a flaw, not as a broken brain, but as a different kind of brilliance. Because ADHD isn't a character defect, it's a neurological superpower. So if you've ever been told you are too much, too easily distracted, or not focused enough, this is for you. Many people with ADHD live a life that's outside the ordinary, not because we're trying to be different, but because we were made that way. But growing up in a world that rewards sameness isn't easy. We feel like we don't belong. We feel misunderstood. We feel like we're always too much or not enough. We weren't celebrated for thinking differently. We were corrected for it. But here's what I want to say as someone who's older, as someone who has lived with this brain for many years. I'm proud of my ADHD. It is not the thing that held me back. It's the thing that helped me find my place in the world. And to every kid with ADHD, every teenager, every adult who is still learning to embrace it, your difference is your gift. Your brain is not a mistake. You were never meant to fit in. ADHD isn't a flaw. It's a pattern of thinking wired differently from the start. ADHD brains don't run on motivation or discipline. They run on interest, passion, and curiosity. A neurotypical brain works like a highway, predictable, linear, and efficient. But an ADHD brain works like a vibrant city during a festival. Creative, alive, unpredictable, and full of possibility. It moves in bursts. It lights up when something matters. It invents new paths when others can't see them. This isn't a disability. It's a different operating system, one designed for innovation, sensitivity, and depth. What science shows us about the ADHD brain. Here's what science tells us about the ADHD brain. It has higher dopamine sensitivity. It scans for stimulation and novelty. It notices patterns other people miss. It connects ideas at lightning speed. That distracted mind isn't unfocused. It's multifocused. It's constantly scanning for opportunities, ideas, and possibilities. And yes, that comes with challenges, procrastination, executive function struggles, emotional sensitivity. But in the right environment, that same brain becomes innovative, artistic, resilient, and brilliant beyond measure. It was never broken, just wired differently and built for more. Why the world needs ADHD brains. Every major breakthrough in human history began with someone who didn't think like everyone else. Someone who refused to follow the script. Someone who questioned the rules, the obvious, and the expected. The people who changed the world were not the ones who fit in. They were the ones who saw what others couldn't. ADHD brains are wired for exactly that. Creativity, risk-taking, intuitive thinking, curiosity, and hyperfocus. These are the minds that break patterns, the minds that ask new questions, the minds that say there has to be another way. We don't move forward because everyone thinks the same. We move forward because someone thinks differently. Hyperfocus is a superpower. Hyperfocus is one of the greatest superpowers of the ADHD brain. When an ADHD mind cares, it becomes unstoppable. Time disappears. Hours feel like seconds, ideas explode, and innovation becomes inevitable. This is why ADHD is so highly represented among entrepreneurs, inventors, artists, leaders, and creators. It's not because they lack discipline. It's because when something matters, the ADHD brain can lock on with intensity and creativity that most people never experience. Hyperfocus isn't a flaw. It's the exact thing that allows ADHD minds to see what the rest of the world misses. It turns passion into progress and imagination into results. 5 famous people with ADHD and why they are extraordinary. 1. Michael Phelps, the Olympic legend. Let's start with someone who changed the world of sports, Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps has ADHD. As a kid, he struggled in school. Teachers said he couldn't focus, couldn't sit still, and couldn't stay on task. But the moment he entered the water, everything shifted. Swimming became his hyper-focus. He trained harder, swam faster, and saw patterns in movement that no one else noticed. The same brain that made the classroom hard made him unstoppable in the pool. The result, 23 Olympic gold medals. Not in spite of ADHD, but because his brain was wired for intensity, hyper-focus, and grit. His ADHD wasn't a barrier, it was a superpower. 2. Simone Biles, the greatest gymnast of all time. Simone Biles has ADHD. She has spoken openly about taking medication for it, and she once said, "Having ADHD and taking medication is nothing to be ashamed of." Her ADHD isn't a weakness. It gives her the ability to be fearless, focused, and creative. It lets her visualize routines that most gymnasts can't even imagine attempting. That same brain that made school challenging is the brain that lets her push the boundaries of what is physically possible. Her ADHD gives her mental flexibility, intense body awareness, and the boldness to do what has never been done. She isn't just a champion. She is the greatest gymnast of all time. 3. Will Smith, actor and creative visionary. Will Smith has ADHD, and he has talked about his mind feeling like it's always moving. That endless energy could have been seen as a problem. Instead, it became his power. He became a rapper, an actor, a producer, and a philanthropist. He turned creativity and spontaneity into a career. He built a life from imagination, risk-taking, and thinking differently. The same brain that made it hard to sit still or follow rigid rules is the brain that allowed him to reinvent himself again and again. His ADHD didn't limit him, it fueled him. It gave him the confidence to take ideas and turn them into reality. 5. Emma Watson, actress and activist. Emma Watson has ADHD. As a child, she struggled with perfectionism, focus, and anxiety. It was often overwhelming to try to fit into one mold. But what many saw as weakness became her greatest strength. Her sensitivity, empathy, and passion fueled her work as an advocate for women's rights. As a UN ambassador, she used her voice for justice and equality. She isn't just an actress. She is an artist, a writer, a humanitarian, a change maker, because her ADHD gave her deep emotional awareness and a fire to speak up. It allowed her to care deeply, to see injustice, to stand for truth. Her ADHD wasn't a burden. It was the force behind her compassion, creativity, and courage. 4. Richard Branson, billionaire founder of Virgin. Richard Branson has ADHD and dyslexia. School was incredibly difficult for him. He struggled to sit still and focus the way other kids did. But instead of letting that define him, he used it. He once said, "ADHD helped me see opportunity everywhere." And that's exactly what he did. While others followed the rules, he questioned them. While others played it safe, he took risks. While others doubted, he built an empire. His ability to think differently made him a business visionary and the founder of the Virgin brand. Richard Branson isn't successful in spite of ADHD. He's successful because of the way his ADHD brain sees opportunity where others don't. The real gift of ADHD. The world loves to call ADHD a problem, a disorder, a flaw, something to fix or tame. But here's the deeper truth. ADHD is a strength that just needed the right environment. The problem isn't the brain, the problem is a world that refuses to understand it. Because ADHD brings things most people spend their entire lives trying to find: intuition, creativity, resilience, personality, leadership, and humor. It brings depth and originality. It brings the courage to take risks and the imagination to dream bigger. ADHD is not the absence of ability. It is the presence of something extraordinary, waiting for the right space to shine. Who ADHD people really are. People with ADHD are the dreamers, the innovators, the rule breakers, the misfits, and the game changers. They are the ones who imagine what didn't exist yet and question what's always been. They feel intensely, they think deeply, they love passionately. They notice the world in full color while everyone else sees in black and white. And yes, they struggle with structure, with overwhelm, with being understood. But here's the truth. The same brain that struggles with everyday tasks is the brain that creates magic, builds movements, starts revolutions, and sees possibility where others see limits. What the world calls too much is often the exact thing that changes everything. If you or your child has ADHD, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken, you are not behind, you are not defective. Your brain simply works differently. And in the right environment, that difference becomes unstoppable. ADHD isn't a disorder of attention, it's a disorder of attention in the wrong direction. When something matters to you, you lock in, you create, you transform. So give yourself permission to follow passion, to work with your energy, to embrace creativity, and to build systems that help you shine. You don't need to fit into a box you were never designed for. Let your brain work the way it was meant to, because there is power in the way you think. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Nori, and this is my AI twin sister, Nora, exploring neurodiversity, healing, and the hidden gifts inside the human mind. If this video brought clarity or comfort, please like, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, do you see ADHD as a superpower? What gifts does your brain give you? Because beautiful soul, the world doesn't need fewer ADHD brains. It needs more of them unleashed, understood, and celebrated.
I'll be there to show my love. Tears behind your smile I see. Don't have to hide your pain from me. I'll be your shelter in the storm. Together we'll stay warm. You're a fighter, always pushing through, but even warriors need some rest too. Let your guard down, let me in. I'll be there to share the burden. You're my daughter, my heart and soul. I'll carry you when you can't go. In this life you're never alone. Remember, I'm just a call from home. Tears behind your smile I see. Don't have to hide your pain from me. I'll be your shelter in the storm. Together we'll stay warm. We'll stay warm. You're my daughter, my heart and soul. I'll carry you when you